So my name is Nadean Lescoe. There we go. For 20 years, I was part of the Ogden City School District Team C. We have Elaine, Warner, and McKenzie has a new last name, Johnson. So we decided we wanted to try and give you some ideas of how you can use AAC when you're working with our kids with disabilities. And so I want to go through this PowerPoint pretty quickly because we have a lot of things we want to share, and we have a lot of things we're going to give away. So hold on to those finger puppets. Those are going to be important. Is that working? I don't think so. Am I?
Right. This one right here.
Yeah.
What? Was working. There we go.
Okay. All right. So the purpose for this was to provide creative ideas for collaborative instruction of literacy-based units, carryover activities, and things that adhere to the Common Core. One of our challenges was a lot of our kids, and if you're a resource teacher or a self-contained teacher, SLP, you know sometimes our kids with AAC get left out of literacy units because it's kind of hard. Carryover activities that we wanted carryover activities to reinforce target vocabulary or activities that we were doing. And we knew that our kids needed repeated exposure. If you've got kids with disabilities, they have to do the same thing over and over again, and you have to find an interesting way to keep doing the same thing over and over. Literacy and basic concepts needed to be an integral part of each lesson and presented in a way that our students could understand and retain the information. So what I wanted to do was address the Common Core. And we wanted to add Blooms Taxonomy. So the things that we did were labeling, following directions, answering and asking questions. When I started this, I would never do this again. I talked 7 SLPs into helping me with this project, and I wrote a grant, and I bought 13 books, 7 copies of 13 books. And then I sat at home and went through every book and identified the core, the non-core, and the grade level vocabulary, and it didn't make a difference. So I would never do that again. We wanted to target speaking and listening, language, reading, writing, whatever we could do with our students. And we use these with resource students and with self-contained students. So I did lesson plans for these 13 books, did lesson plans for week 1, week 2, week 3, and I had what we were going to do, and everybody did the same thing. So I'm in Ogden, and we have a pretty transient group of students, and they move a lot, and they had to keep catching up every time they left a school. So our SLPs were all using the same book, the same lesson plan, and so when our students moved, they didn't have to catch up. As a matter of fact, I remember one day somebody moved in from another school district or another school, and I brought him into our class and sat down and opened up the book, and he said, I was doing that with Miss K. And I just thought, he's not behind. He is not behind because we're all doing the same thing. Then I had what we're going to do in lesson 2, what we're going to do in lesson 3, and lesson 4, and it just went on. And then what I did was I decided to make boards, communication boards. My first trip to UACT as a team member was way back before most of you were born. And Caroline Musselwhite was our speaker, and she said, don't feel like you have to use expensive high-tech devices. That doesn't necessarily provide the best for our students. You need to provide a device that the teachers are going to easily be able to use. And so I do. I use sequencers. I use GoTalks. I use PenFriends. I use anything that I can redo on the fly if I have to. And I make boards for the teachers so that if I'm leaving something in the room, the teacher has everything she needs. Because resource teachers are stressed, just like SLPs. Severe teachers, some of you guys have caseloads that should never happen in a severe classroom. And so I don't want to add to that stress. I want to make sure everything you're getting is already provided. Okay, so I started looking for everything that I could to make things easier. And I'm going to go through just really fast some of the books that we did. This team on Ogden, they have been amazing. They're going to tell you some of the things they've done. And then I'm just going to walk through some of the adaptations I've made. If you have a finger puppet with a number in it, you are going to get a prize. So that's why you had to make sure you have a puppet, and we'll kind of let you know what we're going to do with that. The first one I want to go through is, this is the house that monsters build. And the reason I picked that one first is because the puppets, the monster puppets. So we did a little bit of vocabulary with our kids. We talked about what a monster is, what spooky means, what shocked means, and we do the whole expressions and stuff. And then we looked at what parts of Bloom's taxonomy we wanted to look at, remembering, understanding, applying the information. And I use a lot of predictable pattern books for my severe kids. These books have the best illustrations ever. If you have not looked in these books, they are amazing. The illustrations are so great, and they follow a pattern. So my severe kids kind of know what to expect as we go through these books. We do compare and contrast, and somebody helps. Tell me what a monster looks like. Does he have eyes? Does he has a nose? How do they look like people? So we're kind of walking our kids through compare and contrast. And I'm not gonna, so we do a sequencing activity with every one of our books, and I do it in several different ways. So this is the house that monsters built. I made headstones. And then we cut the pieces out and we glue the monster onto the headstone as we go through the book. So they're sequencing the book. This one is what I want them to tell me what the pattern is. And I use the same pictures for every activity that are in the book. And the reason being, years ago, the State Board of Education sent a bunch of us to one of the ski resorts for a week, and Karen Erickson came up and did a training for us on AAC. And she put up a symbol sentence, a board maker symbol sentence, and told us to tell her what it meant. And nobody could tell her, because if you've ever used board maker, you know that they use symbols for more than one thing. So it's confusing for our students. And I thought maybe with our severe students, they would have a hard time knowing that the witch in the book is the same witch in board maker. So I try to make what I'm doing with them as relevant as possible and as concrete for our kids that need that. So this would be an activity that they had to look at the pattern and then tell me which piece has to come next. Sometimes I buy an extra book, and if you've never ordered from thrift books, you can get them for $2 or $3. And sometimes that's cheaper than ink. So I will buy a book and cut it out and use it for my pieces. And this is an activity where I hand all the pieces, all the monsters to the kids. And I have this house, and I describe the monster. So this monster he has wrapped up in white sheets, and you can only see his eyes. So tell me what monster that is. And whoever has it has to tell me who it is. And if he can't figure it out, those kids help. And then that monster goes into the house. So we do this whole describing activity with these. And I laminate everything, because our severe kids are going to drool on it all. So I don't want to have to keep doing it. So everything I have is laminated so I can clean it. We did monster faces. And we did, this is the house that monsters built. We just did a little fun puppet thing with the monsters. This is the communication board. So when I have a student that I want them to be able to say, the spooky house that monsters built, tripped on his feet, I don't expect them to be able to do every single activity, but I want them to be able to do some. Again, a communication board. This, I'm going to have Elaine or McKenzie, which one of you are going to come up and talk? So they've put together how many units? 50 or 60 units.
Yeah, so building on what Nadean has done with her 13, for our district, we have started a library of literacy units that are SLPs. And this is our first year trialing it, but we're hoping eventually that our teachers can check out that go over some of these concepts for our students with AAC. And so I've got just one of the lesson plans that I've done recently here on my phone, so I can kind of talk about it. The one that was really popular with my students was Have You Seen My Monster? I don't know if you've read that book, but it's a really fun one. Some of the activities that we have that would go along with that book, we have a writing activity. So we might say, write or draw a picture of where you think a good place would be for a big monster to hide. And we'll go, if they have a device, we're using their device to maybe meet them where they're at. So I have a student who's maybe at one word, might say just bathroom, right? And then it gives me a good opportunity to model and help with their writing that way. We also have math and science activities. For this one, the math activity is pretty fun. It's we have some dinosaur smash mats, and we'd roll a dice, find whatever number came up, they'd get that many pieces of Play-Doh to put on their smash mat. And we're just consistently modeling with their device. And one thing I've really loved about these literacy units is it's good for our students that have those AAC devices, but also good for some of our students that just have language goals. So it's been nice for our SLPs to be able to check these out and not have necessarily as much stress when planning their activities. And similar to the ones I know you've created, lots of these units can last up to a month. So when I did that, Have You Seen My Dinosaur? There were enough activities within that unit that I was able to use it for a full month with my students, and they loved it. We also pair them with games and activities. So with the Have You Seen My Dinosaur, we have some dinosaur stomp rockets that we use. And it's a good opportunity where we can go in and do some child-led therapy too, and just follow their lead and model and have just one more way to use their devices.
Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you some of the things I've done with my students. And as I go through these, I'm going to call out a number, and you're going to look inside your puppet. And if you have the number, you're going to get the activity. Okay, you guys are going to have to come up and hand these out. So the first thing I want to talk about is this is the house that Monsters built. And like I said, we have the house. So one of the things that I like to do with my students is they get 4 puppets, 2 on each hand. And we do the story up on the board, and we tell them, listen for your monster. And when you hear your monster, you're going to wiggle that monster. Because I want them listening. I want them engaging. I want them, and then they get to take these home because, you know, they've been in their mouth and everything. So for a month, we do this. We play with the puppets. We do the activity. I want him to listen. I want him to participate. I want him to think about the monster. And we can do the description again, too. I want you to wiggle the monster that has the hat and the green face. So we're doing just all kinds of activities for them to engage in the activity. We also have the paper stuff that I've shown you. And so what I do have is, this is the house that Monsters built here somewhere. Will you find that? Here it is. So who has number 1? Look inside your puppet. And if you have a number 1, raise your hand. Okay, so you're getting this literacy unit. The other one, so I presented it, Closing the Gap, once, and I handed out, everyone there got what I was presenting. And somebody said to me, we go to these conferences and people tell us what we need to do and then they walk away. And they said, you told us what we need to do and you gave us the stuff to do it with. So I thought, we're going to do that this time too. So some of you are going away with some stuff. Where the wild things are. Did you know that the Federal Board of Education banned Where the Wild Things Are in our schools because they said it was too scary? I'm like, I'm doing it anyway. So some of the things that we do is, again, the sequencing board, and it's the pictures right out of the book. I make everything on BoardMaker. I know that they don't sell BoardMaker anymore. Some of you have it. I don't like BoardMaker online. I like BoardMaker. And I had a BoardMaker, and then I had a house fire. And so everything was gone. this all had to be redone. Let me tell you, it was a project. So I went to buy a board maker and I couldn't get it. I looked on eBay and they wanted $800 for one. So I thought, oh, what if I get a Spanish board maker? Because you should be able to go in and change the language. So I ordered a Spanish board maker for $50 and it came to the house and it had an English board maker with it. So I was like, score. So back in business I was. The other thing that I like to do with Where the Wild Things Are is we do a choral reading. So we have the monster masks. And the kids that can do this do the monster, and the ones that can't. So for my little guy, let me pull this out. You grab that out of there. So if I have students who need an AAC device, they become Max. And Max can be clipped right to a tray on a wheelchair, or he can be put on a crown. And then I have either a sequencer or a Go Talk with Max's parts so that he can participate. I always want everybody participating, and the kids love the masks. And I found these online somewhere. So we always like to do the choral reading with them. The other thing we do is we do a Wild Thing mask. This one, if I have severe kids, I usually paint the mask and the noses and the eyes come on and off so that we can talk about how many eyes, what color are the eyes, where do the eyes go, what color's the nose, where does the nose go, what shape are the eyes, what shape is the nose, what color are the ears, what shape are the ears, look at his mouth, tell me about his mouth, what do his teeth look like. So we're doing a lot of describing while they do this. For my students who are not quite as severe, we just trace a pattern onto the plate and they design their wild thing. And they decide what their wild thing is going to look like. So if you have number 2, raise your hand and you get Where the Wild Things Are. I'm giving you some things, just can't give you everything, but I think I'm giving you enough to kind of get started on some units. Let's do the monster. So this was a new one I did, How to Catch a Monster. And I stole some ideas from Elaine on how to catch a monster. There were some great things to do with prepositions that you print out the monsters and then the page tells you where you need to put the monster. Put the monster on the bed, put the monster under the bed, in front of the bed, behind the bed. And this was just a short unit. I think we only had 2 weeks, so we did a short unit. So if you have number 3, you're going to get how to. So I want to talk a little bit about how I help my students who have maybe visual impairments or just don't quite get when they look at something on a paper and they need a little more help. So you can do like a small circle time and pass a monster around. Everybody touch the monster. Tell me what the monster looks like. What color is he? What do his eyes look like? Does he have, he has wings, or he looks like he might be a doctor monster because he has a white coat, or this one looks like he might be a vampire monster. So we're having the kids describe them, and if they have visual impairments, they can touch them. The colors are good. They can get up close. They can touch them. And so just ways to get those kids involved that have a hard time. We're giving them a different way to access. And there is in this box, the How to Hunt Your Monster and the Describing Your Monster. So you can have them, you can write down, have them describe this monster. They're all going to describe it differently. Will you come and get these? And we need, I guess, 3, 4, and 5. You're getting these. So look inside your puppet. If you have a number 3, a number 4, or a number 5, raise your hand. Oh, did we do a 3? Oh, sorry, you guys keep track of the counting. 4, 5, and 6. Okay. So this one I really like. This is, there was an old, has anybody ever done this book? There was an old monkey. Oh, I love these books. they're just so colorful, and the kids love the colors. They love the pictures. They are great. I mean, they're just some of the best books I've ever found. There was an old monkey who swallowed a frog. And there was an old pirate. We're going to talk about that one. I love that there was an old. So again, communication boards so that they can participate. And I think I probably am giving it to you. So I made masks out of the monkey. And then I have a crocodile, and we do with this monkey. I try to use everything from the book. 5 little monkeys swinging in a tree, teasing Mr. Crocodile, can't catch me, can't catch me. Along came Mr. Crocodile, quiet as can be, and snatched that monkey right out of the tree. So I have all the monkeys, and I have as many monkeys as I have students. So now we're counting backwards. And then a crocodile, and everybody takes turns. And especially if I have a student in a wheelchair, they become the crocodile. So we can kind of push them around the circle and they can take the monkey away. Okay. The other thing I did is I made a take-home monkey for them so that after they've learned the book, they can go home and feed their monkey with their moms. So, and I do this with every one of my activities so that they've learned there was an old monkey swallowed a frog. And by the time we're done, those kids can tell you what they swallowed first and second and third. And we can do first, second, third. We can do first, next, after, before. We can work on prepositions. But I want to send something home so they're practicing with their parents. And do we have right here? So what number are we on? 7? So 7 is getting there was an old monkey. This is one of my favorites. This is probably one of my favorite Halloweens to do. There was an old mummy. There was an old mummy who swallowed a spider. This one we do. So we have, when we do description, I have smaller pieces that are in here so that they can see them when the mummy swallows them. They can see that the mummy swallowed them down. And then we do, and that's a sequencing. This is also another sequencing. I have these puppets. And so I'll say, okay, what did the mummy swallow first? Everybody look inside. So they open up their mummy to see what he swallowed. So when did he swallow the witch? Before this, after that, was it first, second, third? And so we do puppets. And we also do the larger pieces. So there was an old mummy who swallowed what did he swallow? Who has the first thing he swallowed? And the kids really like the big pieces, you know, because they're, especially if they have visual impairments, it's a little bit easier for them to see. The other thing we do with There Was an Old Mummy is we do a following instructions activity. I'm trying to get through all this in an hour. So, so we make a mummy, and it's just it's a toilet paper roll that's painted black. And they have to wrap their mummy up. And usually I have different eyes, like scary eyes. So they have to tell me what eyes they want. Tell me about your eyes. What eyes do you want? You want the green ones? You want the purple ones? And they kind of tell me about their eyes. So they do make a mummy. Okay, I think we must be on 8, right? Who has number 8? Just so you know, these books you're getting came from Thrift Book. I checked them. They're good. They're not brand new. But it's free. Let's talk about the pirate. There was an old pirate. Again, same author, great, great picture. The kids love the pictures. They're just so nice. So we do the same thing with the pirate. Let's see if this is here. Oh, I should show you this. So this is, I forgot. So we do a little comprehension thing. This is our monkey. And so they feed the monkey here. When we talk about comprehension questions, and then our monkeys here, and they get to feed the monkey. So I try to find different ways to do the same activity so that they're not getting bored and there's something new. With the pirate, so we did the same thing with the pirate. And I'm trying to find one here. I probably put it in your packet, whoever's getting this. Here it is. So I made a pirate puzzle and I laminated it, and then I lettered it so that they had to look for the A piece, and let's put the A piece where it goes and the B piece. And I laminate these so they can take them home and do them over and over and over again with their family. They got these pirates. So we did the pirate sequencing, and they took home a pirate with the same pieces to sequence with their parents. So sometimes we do this as the sequencing. Sometimes we do the description. What was the first thing the pirate swallowed? It swims in the water. People like to eat it for dinner. And the kids have the pieces. So whoever has the correct piece has to identify, it was the fish, it was the mast, it was the sail, it was, and it's with the communication board. I use a Go Talk because I can change it if I have to on the fly, and the kids can use them pretty easily. And when I leave it in the room for the teacher, it's easy to use. And I just make 2 or 3 boards, because on a board maker, you've got 5 levels. You've either got 4 boards or 9 boards, squares, so that there's enough stuff for them to do. And I always leave stuff for our teacher to do in a carryover. So she's doing this story with them outside of speech. Okay, so let's give away. There was an old pirate. What number? What number? What number? 8? 9? Okay. Another one is there was an old coyote. And these, like I said, I use these with my severe kids. When I start with these books, I teach them that there's a part. I always tell them you have a part to the book, and I immediately teach them their part. Let's see. There was a coyote who swallowed a lizard. It slipped in, it slithered right down to its gizzard. He swallowed the lizard to catch the flea, plucked from his knee that tickly flea, yippee-o-ki-yee. So they know they're going to do, he swallowed he plucked right from his knee, yippee-o-ki-yee. They always know that there's a part of that story that they're always going to say, and they know it pretty quickly. So they know this is going to be a story we're going to spend together. Same thing with the coyote. And open yours, it's going to be a little bit easier. Did the same thing. Sequencing boards. Like I said, my sequencing boards, I always try to make them so they look like the book. Colored pictures or black and white, it doesn't matter, but they've got the pictures out of the book. I just think, I just feel like the kids get it a little bit better if they're using the pictures from the book. So let's give number 10. Is that it? Are we on 10? I don't know anymore. Okay, number 10. This was a new one that the teacher introduced me to, the napping house. Anybody ever done the napping house? Yeah, it's really a cute book. There wasn't a lot I could think of to do with them. We did the sequencing, but then I decided to do a preposition activity with them. So I printed the boy and I printed the chair. The boy goes in the chair, and then we take him out of the chair. We put him behind the chair, over the chair, under the chair, in front of the chair. And then I did 2 different puzzles for them. Excuse me. One of them is 1, 2, 3. Who was on the bed first? Grandma, who got on the bed next? The boy, who got on after the boy? The dog, who was next? The cat. And again, I've laminated these so they can take them home and do them over and over and over again with their parents. And they're just, this was a May activity, so there wasn't a lot to do, but we did some. So I think we have the napping houses there somewhere. I think there. When I'm doing some of the ways I'd like to do will you hold this up? This is a story graph, and this is for where the wild things are. So I bought a book, I cut the pieces out, I traced the pieces. So if the kids can't figure out, we're going to block that piece up until we figure out who's got the piece. So what did she drop? What did the witch drop first? She dropped her hat. What So we put the hat in, who found the hat? And we just do this whole story, and they're just putting those pieces in as we go along. And I think it's just fun for them because they're still doing a story retell, but it's very guided. Okay. Did the same thing with a turkey for Thanksgiving. This was just a little bit different. Turkey for Thanksgiving. Here's Mr. and Mrs. Turkey. What's the holiday? It's Thanksgiving. What does Mrs. Turkey want? She wants a turkey for Thanksgiving. So we talk about, do you have a turkey for Thanksgiving? Yeah, we have turkey for Thanksgiving. Do you eat the turkey? Yeah, do you think she's going to eat the turkey? So yeah, the kids are like, yeah, she's going to eat the turkey. And so we just follow a little map. Who did they run into first? Who did they run into next? After them, who did they go to? So we can do the first, second, third. We can work on some prepositions. Just another fun way to have them retell the story. Very picture oriented, easy to do. Okay, so then hold this up. So we do a preposition work for room on the broom. So I cut the pieces out and we talk about who is on the broom first. The witch. So then we put the witch on the broom. Who was on the broom after the witch? The cat. Was the cat in front of the witch or behind the witch? Was the cat on the broom or off the broom? And so then we're putting them where they belong, and we go through everybody. And then we have the words, and we put the words in place. So they're laminated again so they can take it home. This is just another story sequence about what happened. Like I said, I try always to find something new and different to get the kids engaged, because I don't want them to do exactly the same thing every time. It's going to get really boring. So the same thing, we're talking about this. We have questions. Was he in front? Was he in front? Was he in back? So you can either use this board, you can use this board, but we're just trying to get those kids engaged with retelling the story and being involved. Let's see what else. Oh, so room on the broom is, trying to think what else we have for room on the broom. We have the communication boards and just the activities for them to participate in. What did they do? What happened? There is, and I think it's free online. You can get a whole storyboard. I think I just typed in storyboard for room on the broom, and the pieces come up and it's free. So I find it if you like room on the broom. And I think let's give room on the broom to 12. 12. Who has 12? See what the last one is. Oh, okay. So this is the turkey for Thanksgiving that we were talking about. What we like to do, and you have the pattern for this turkey face, because it's really a pain to make the pattern. So I put the pattern in here. We talk about the story. We do the sequencing. We do the story retell, and I added these because there's the 5 little turkeys activity. So you have the turkeys in here. And then we do this activity with them where they make a turkey. And then we talk about what they're thankful for, and they write that down. And if they need help, obviously we're going to help them. Sometimes they draw a picture of what they're thankful for. Sometimes they don't answer. So this one is the turkey for Thanksgiving. The reason I think you've all gotten one of these. I use these when I do my sequencing, because I just tape mine on. Take them on, take them off, take them on, take them off, so that I don't have to keep doing it over and over again. And so I wanted to make sure you had one of these to try the sequencing. Cool. 13. We're at 13? 13, last person, number 13. So every time I get a new book, I really try to sit down and think, what are ways I can do so that my students with disabilities can participate? And using a lot of pictures helps. When we do sequencing, it's almost always picture-based. And I did learn not to give them all the pictures at one time, because they just decide where they think they should go. So I have them in envelopes, and I take out the first and we talk about what was first, and we glue it in place, and then the envelope. Learned that one the hard way. So I do make sure that we're kind of controlling the activity. Anybody have any other ideas that they use? No ideas? I have a prize.
I have a question.
Oh. What did you ask? Does anybody have any other ideas that they use to support?
I get a old wipe container and I'm sorry. So I have like empty wipe container and I use that for the whoever swallowed or any sequencing, then you can draw a little mouth and open and close it.
Especially for our kids with severe disabilities, if they can be actively involved, they've got to buy into whatever you're doing, and it's got to be entertaining. I have to tell you, when we do all these activities where they feed the pirate, or they feed the monkey, or they feed the mummy, they love it. You know, and that's why I think by the time they're done, they know the activity and who has where the wild things are. You need this crown. I'll bring this back to you.
I'm sorry, I have a question. I don't know, it's still formulating in my mind, so bear with me. So we have like giant caseloads. I'm wondering, like, how do you administer this? Like, do you have a bunch of groups throughout the day, and then you're just doing this repeatedly throughout the day with separate groups, or do you do like a classroom lesson?
When I do the severe, we take the group that we know. So in the severe, is this working? In the severe classroom, if we have a student we have some kids who are just not going to participate, they become almost violent. So obviously we're going to find something for them to do alone with the staff assistant. But as much as we can, we pull a group in. We do the same thing. I have an SLT, so she puts together a second grade group, a third grade group. We do kinder through third grade. Kinder through third grade, you're learning to read. Fourth and fifth, you're reading to learn, and that's when we switch to the news to you stuff. So we do have to do groups. I mean, our caseloads are like yours. I think last year Elaine's was 300.
What?
Yeah, it was crazy. And so I retired in 2021, and after 3 months, I realized I was bored. And so I came back to work part-time. So my caseload's a lot. I mean, I've got 2 SLTs and my caseload's, what is it, maybe 60 or 70 with 2 SLTs. So and the thing is, if you're doing this, I do this at home a lot. You know, I cut all those pieces out while I'm watching TV, and I think it's what we do. As special educators, we do far more than we ever get paid for. I mean, that's all it is, because I think we're so determined to do the best we can. And I want to share with you, I had a junior high for most of my full-time career. And I decided one year we were going to do a Christmas carol. And so I went on to Teacher Pay Teacher. Anybody use Teacher Pay Teacher? If you don't, you should. So I bought a modified version of A Christmas Carol. I printed out, we had 10 kids, and we brought in the moderate unit to help the kids. I printed out 10 copies, and in each book, I highlighted somebody's part. So each book had a different part. The little girl that needed an AAC device, I put her part on an AAC device, on a board maker, and we just moved. I bought hats, I bought scarves, I bought trees and candles. Those kids love that. And I will tell you, I told my principal, and you have really great principals, and so I told my principal what I was going to do. And she said, "Do you really think they can do that?" And I said, "Well, I ordered a modified version from News to You." She said, "I hate News to You. Teacher Pay Teacher. Those people think they know everything." I'm like, "They sort of do." And then she said, "Well, I guess it's too late, isn't it?" And I said, "It is. I'm the speech language pathologist. I think these kids should have an opportunity to engage in a literacy unit like anybody else. And they had so much fun. We were going to do it for their parents, and I can't remember what happened. I don't know if it was COVID stuff but for 3 weeks we practiced this, and we had narrators and everybody had a part, and they had a ball. And I thought those kids got to do a Christmas Carol. So I said, you just have to start thinking outside the box and saying, why am I not doing this? Why don't I try this? If it doesn't work, what did I lose? I lost a little bit of time and a $5 packet that I'll use with somebody else. So I'm always looking, and Elaine and those guys did the same thing. I am amazed at 50 units. 13 just about wore me out.
And we have so to follow up with that question, how do you have enough time to do everything? That's why we decided to put together these big units, and everything is in there that you need, and it's ready to go for the most part.
Right, and they're just, you check them out. And you don't have to be on the AT team to check them out. Anybody can check them out, and you can have them for like a month. And how great is that? If you don't have to, if it's all there and you just have to check it out and you've got this activity. And I know I saw the boards are in there, all the activities to include kids with AAC are in there. So, if you're on an AT team, that's what they use their AT money for. They put together these units that will last forever.
So we've got them all on Google Drive, and we've added a way for our SLPs that do check them out to add their own activities so that we're constantly collaborating. And so it helps lessen the workload for everyone. You're continuously adding.
And if anybody wants to share what we haven't.
Yes, so you can talk to Elaine because she doesn't have enough to do with 300 kids. So you can, no, I know it's Team C, and I'm absolutely certain they would love to give you some ideas of how to get that going. Because think about it, they've got 50 literacy units, and you can only get through 8 a year or 10 or whatever, depending on how fast your kids move. You guys, it can take some of that stress off. Because with this, we rotate every two or 3 years. I rotate through, so the kids are doing something different. And by the time we come back, there are severe kids and they don't remember we did it, 2 years ago. And so and they just love it. And so this has just been such a good thing to do to make sure that those kids are having an opportunity to participate.
If you don't mind, one thing we've tried to do with it too is we've added some cause and effect activity and different switch adapted activities to our literacy units. So one of ours, we have a paint spinner, and we have a lesson around the paint spinner, but it's also switch adapted, so they can, so that anyone can participate.
Yeah.
So we have tried to make different levels and use some of our switch activities that maybe weren't necessarily being used because people didn't know about them. So it gave us a way that people around the district would use them.
I'll tell you something else that I like to use. Has anybody ever used the pen friend? Love this. So it looks like a microphone, a small one with a kind of a tip on it. And it has a bunch of little symbols on it. So you can put it on, like I could put that on here. And then I record on the pen friend. And so my student would come up and I'd say, okay, who did they go to first? And they would touch that little spot and it would tell you. So, and you can record as long as as many of those little buttons you've got, and it comes in a package with like 100 of them. And so you can pass this around from student to student to student. So you're using this one little thing with all your kids that need an AAC device, and they pull off. As long as you've laminated something, you can pull it off or put it on something else and reuse it. It's called Pen Friend. I saw it at ASHA. It's one of my favorite things to use. Questions, concerns? Did we run over? Are we good?
Does this go till 10:15 or 11?
Are we way ahead?
Now it goes to 11.
Sorry, I have a motor mouth when I think I don't have enough time.
No, I think you still have time.
We do. Any questions from there?
I will check. Somebody asked about pen friend, but I think you answered that.
Did you say pen frame or
Pen friend.
Friend.
Pen friend. And like I said, it's like, and I tried to find ours, but the AT closet just moved and everything is in boxes. And I walked into their closet and looked at all those boxes and thought, it's not happening. But like I said, I like it because it's one little device and I can carry it around with me. I don't have to have a Go Talk and a sequencer. And it's easy to hold because it's big enough around, and with a little bit of guidance and support, even our kids that really need help, you can guide them to the one that they're trying to get to. And like I said, you can pull those off as long as you put it on something laminated. We've done it with books. We've had the kids read a book by putting one of those on each page, and they take turns touching and they read the page, and we shift it to the next student and they touch and they read the book. And so it lets them really participate.
So there's one question online. Are the units available for purchase on TPT or another platform?
So the stuff I have here, I did with my handy dandy board maker, but I will tell you that every one of these books, if you go on to Teacher Pay Teacher, you can get units, and they're usually $1 or $2 or $5. And they do a pretty good job. The difference is that, like I said, I try to use the pictures out of the book, and Teacher Pays Teacher use whatever, program they've purchased, but they still have some great stuff. Somewhere in this mess is an activity that Elaine had, and this might be it. That's a preposition. I stole this.
There's one more question. How do they get access to the Google Drive with the units?
If you go into the UACT website, this PowerPoint is up there. These units are, they were saved on flash drives at one time, but like I said, I had a house fire and everything's gone. So, but I would recommend checking out Teacher Pay Teacher. This came from one of the units, monster prepositions. This is in one of their units, and you look and it says, the monster is, and where's the monster? Under the bed. So they've got to pick where he is and they put it up there. And so again, it's a very visual activity for them to do. And like it's laminated so that they can use it over and over again. Laminated and Velcroed.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Don't.
I'm not stretching. I have another question.
Okay.
I'll start. Mentioned that you were in junior high for quite a while. I primarily am in secondary schools as well. So some of these books do apply, like some of our students will really like. In all of your experience, do you have some books or picture books that you would recommend for secondary that you've had a lot of success with?
We used, this is the house that Monsters built with the junior high. They really liked that. And then Where the Wild Things Are, you can use Where the Wild Things Are with just about anybody, because it's, it's that whole, why is Max really, did he really leave his room? Where did he go? And so there's a lot of things you can do with them. But what I did with most of my severe kids, where I tried to find things like A Christmas Carol. And I think we did a couple of activities with that.
Maybe. With our literacy unit, we actually have a list of books that we've used for secondary. I can send those out. We also have some we use a lot of wordless picture books at the secondary.
Yes,
Off
absolutely.
the top of my head, I'm not thinking of the names of them, but I have a list that I could.
Yeah,
still
even
add
if
to the
even if you could
website.
send the list of the books, not the whole unit, because I know that that's
but the list of
sacred
the
and
books.
protected, but at least just the list of the books for us to.
Could you send that to Austin and then he could post it or something like that?
That would be so wonderful.
A lot of our lesson plans too, we took inspiration. So PRC Saltillo does a literacy calendar every year
Oh,
that has reading, math, science activities, and it's completely free online. So that's another one we use a lot. PRC Saltillo, they have, they're just called literacy
Is it
calendars.
Frankie Roman?
That's something else I could share.
Is it Frankie Roman?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
can share what we
Yeah,
are
yeah,
able to,
yeah,
but some of
yeah.
them we do have.
So with my older, like my ninth grade and when I had post-high, because for a while I had preschool through post-high, and I like to use some of the News to You. So the one I really liked to do with my older students was silly putty, because they got to play with the putty, and I didn't do anything really. There's some comprehension questions at the end, and then we made silly putty. And so, so just things where they had to follow the directions. Let's talk about silly putty. Tell me what it looks like. Tell me what it feels like. Let's talk about what you can do, and just kind of talked about the article. So I do that with my older students who are not self-contained. And for a long time, before my OT retired, we did a group activity at the high school, and I don't know if your OTs are on board, but we would go in for 2 hours a week, and we would do activities with the high school, our self-contained high school kids that had to do with food or hygiene, and we had these huge lessons that involved the OT and the SLP, and we would do that once a week and just pull these groups in and move them around. And so, that was, and I haven't been in high school for a while, so I don't know what they're doing. McKenzie's at the high school. I don't know what she's doing there.
Yeah, so I used a lot of wordless picture. Oh, sorry. Is there a question online?
No, I think it's just more a clarification. You talked about the resources available on Google Drive. How do people access that?
So some of it we have paid for licenses for, but I was just talking to Elaine. We can get what we're allowed to share and what we're able to share to the, probably added to the UAT site. If you email either of us, we'd be happy to share that too.
So do you want to give them
So-
one of your email addresses?
Yeah, mine would be johnstonmc@ogdensd.org. So JOHNSTONMC@ogdensd. Oh, sorry, .org.
Questions, concerns? Helpful? Yes, no?
Yes.
Well, and I hope those, so the idea was to, I would love to have just given everybody, but I did retire. This came out of my pocket. And so but I just thought it would be nice if there were some opportunities to kind of try some of this. It's really thinking out of the box, and that's what we do as resource teachers, as self-contained teachers, as SLPs and OTs. We're always thinking out of the box. And I'll see something and all of a sudden I'm like, I can do this and this and this, and it's going to work with these kids. And it keeps me from getting bored with the units too, because they're a little bit different, and it challenges my brain to come up with ideas. Like I said, sometimes I was scanning things. I do scan the books when I do the sequencing, because I like I said, I want the pictures out of the book. But if I want to do something really big, like there was the mummy that swallowed, and I bought the book, because if you get them for $2 or $3, it's cheaper than ink, and the colors are better. And so I'll just order a book from Thrift Book and keep it until I completely cannibalized it and used every part of it I can. Just fun. And the kids, I have to tell you, the paper on this is a little bit easier for them to do. When I have them do the yarn, we have to tape it, and then I have to go back and glue it with hot glue when we're done, because it's a little bit harder for the kids, but they still really enjoy doing them. Then we put them up on the wall, and they get to talk about their monsters, and just anything I can do to keep them engaged and using their hands and using visual aids. I think we're done. Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to share because I love to find new books, so I love to share new books. There's a really cute book that's about dinosaurs that don't eat your classmates.
Dinosaurs don't eat their classmates. We just did that one. It's so much
I
fun.
was gonna say, all the kids just thought it was so fun.
Yeah. That was, I tried to pick a few to bring. You should see my closet. But we just did Dinosaurs Don't Eat Their Classmates, and it is a really fun, cute book. And then you can, at Walmart, they have like a dinosaur book with different dinosaurs, and then all kinds of faces and hands, so they can design a dinosaur. So we did that, was one of the activities we did. Okay, thanks you guys. Have a good afternoon.